I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds and then I'm going to start. Just to let everyone know, you might want to turn your cameras off because we are recording this session. We are recording this session. Throughout the presentation, if you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. At the end of the session, we will try and answer as many questions as possible. And also, if there are any frequently asked questions, we'll also put them together, any answers or in a doc. Okay, right, I think we'll start. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Emma McLaren and I'm Senior Vice Principal at Manchester Enterprise Academy. The first thing that I'd like to say is a massive thank you for engaging with our first ever Year 11 virtual parent information evening. I think that one of the things that I want to talk to you about is to put your mind at ease that we know that your child has missed a lot of learning because of the COVID-19 situation, and as such, as an academy, we have put a lot of resource and a very, very big and strong experienced team around your child. So I'm just going to introduce some of the members of the team. First, we've got Miss Evans. Miss Evans is actually going to talk to you later on today. She's the lead, she's a vice principal, and she's the lead for curriculum and standards across the whole academy. Miss Evans joined us about 18 months ago, very experienced, and she actually looks at the progress and the attainment of Year 11, as well as some of the interventions, and she leads the team. We've got Miss Patel, again, who's on the senior leadership team. She leads on curriculum and also gives careers advice. She does a lot of the support for students when they're going into sixth form applications and so on, and she does a sterling job. In fact, for the past couple of years, we've had 0% NEET, which means all of our students left MEA knowing that they either had an apprenticeship, a job, they've got an application approved at college, and so on. Then we've got Miss Hall. Again, she's on the senior leadership team and she looks at behaviour and attendance. And then we've got Miss Neary, who does a sterling job, and she's going to be talking to you today as well. She's the strategic development lead. So again, she's on the senior leadership team, and she looks at supporting students. She's raising standards and also looks at the pastoral needs for our students. We've got Miss Conway, who doesn't teach. So she's full-time on hand, supporting students. And then we've got Miss Gibson. Now Miss Gibson works with us 2 days a week, and we employ her to meet with students. Again, she's a career advisor, her knowledge is extensive, and she will meet to students on a regular basis to make sure that they know their next steps. Today, throughout this evening, we will give you some updates on exams. Miss Neary's going to give some advice about student well-being. I think that's more necessary than ever this year because of the COVID-19 situation. Successful outcomes in Year 11 and independent study. Incredibly important that students are revising and catching up with their studies at home. That is a real game changer. Some advice about how to access Microsoft Teams, post-16 destinations, and Miss Neary is going to also talk to you about parental voice. And I urge as many parents as possible to get involved in that. We really want to know how we can support yourselves and your young people. So I'm going to just let these other people in the waiting room, and I am going to pass you across to Miss Neary. So
Fabulous. Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. Just to reiterate some of Ms McLaren's messages, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Quite a bit of information to get through, but I will say now that I will make sure that these slides do reach you, and obviously it's being recorded, so if there's something that you miss and you don't want to put a question in the chat, then you can just go through these slides at your own convenience. So what I want to start off with is an exam update, and I think this is probably one of the biggest causes of, you know, some anxiety within students and actually parents as well, because it's quite an unpredictable climate. So I'm going to talk to you about external assessments and some announcements that have been made by the DfE, internal assessments that we manage ourselves within the academy, and then just really quickly run through the calendar outline, which is in your resource information pack. That should have been sent out last night. So if you haven't received that, just to kind of rectify that issue, we do need your most up-to-date email address for us to be able to get that out to you. Okay, so I just want to run through what has been announced recently. And when I say recently, that is from October. That's the most recent update. And I did put a lot of this information in the Year 11 bulletin. So if you received that via email, which you should have done, I'm just going to run through some of these details now just to clarify them. So the exams in England situation is that external summer exams will start 3 weeks later than in previous years. So they would normally start around mid-May, but they will start on the 7th of June in bulk, but there will be one maths and one English exam prior to half term, which is towards the end of May, but the bulk of which will start after the final summer half term on the 7th of June, which means that exams will finish on the 2nd of July. Just to go through vocational and technical qualifications, such as sport, health and social care, those qualifications are looked to align with the same timetable as that. So we are just looking at 3 weeks later is all that means. It does then mean there is a knock-on effect for GCSE results day, which will be a week later on Friday, the 27th of August. And that just does mean that students will have, there'll be a week behind in terms of enrolment, but colleges will be fully aware of that, and it will just be a case of enroll as and how they decide it is appropriate to do so, given the COVID-19 situation and where we will be in August. And then that, I mean, that's quite a way in the future. So it's just to make you aware of those dates anyway. And the exams that have the autumn series that would look to go ahead in January, schools and colleges have shown that they can be done under, even in areas of local restriction. And there are some external exams that are happening in January, and they will be on your calendar outline as well, which we will just go through briefly in a minute. And this is just something that I just want to clarify, and I will also just say that some of you may already be aware that there has been a recent announcement in the last couple of days that Wales have chosen to cancel their exams in 2021. As far as we are concerned, in England, that exams will go ahead. And whilst there may be some uncertainty around that, we will continue just to work towards those exams as normal, because nothing yet has changed. And I'll talk obviously how that impacts our internal progress exams as well, making them probably even more important than any year previous to now. Okay, so just to read through this, so the government will engage widely with schools over the next 6 weeks to identify any risks to exams at a national, local and individual level, okay, and where a student is unable to sit exams due to illness or self-isolation, or schools are affected by a local outbreak during the examination season, meaning centres cannot open. So it is being widely considered, and I know this is probably a massive worry for parents and students. But all I would like to say is that students, whichever way they receive their grades, will leave this academy with grades, and they will go on to their future destinations. And we understand that this is probably one of the biggest worries that parents and students are facing, is the uncertainty. But we will keep you as up to date as we have done up to now. We don't know anything more that we haven't already shared with parents, because we understand it's quite an uncertain time, and that can increase the stress levels around GCSE exams. So obviously on your calendar outline as well, I'd just like to highlight some of these days. And I've been working with students on a daily basis, either in the academy or through the live Zooms that students have been accessing if they are self-isolating. On Monday, the 7th of December through to Thursday, the 17th of December, they will sit their internal progress exams, okay? They will get a second go at these progress exams much nearer to the real summer external exams, should everything go to plan as it is at the minute, and the dates are there on screen for that second lot. We cannot move these exams because there are other things set in the calendar, and it is the turnaround time of marking those progress exams. And it's also important just to mention that students will need their predicted grades from these progress exams in order to apply for college or their post-16 destinations if it should be different to a college. But I will talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the Zoom. And obviously, just off the back of what I've mentioned, that these internal progress exams are probably more important than ever. And if we look back to last year's Year 11 and how they were awarded their grades, I think it is now very obvious that these progress exams, if needed to inform centre assessed grades that would finalise students' actual GCSE grades, we would need the solid evidence of the assessment data from these progress exams. So this is not me trying to pile more pressure onto students. If they are working their hardest and they are doing their best, then that is everything we ask for. They cannot do anything more than that. It's just to highlight that these exams are now very important, whereas in the past, a lot of students have just made the mistake of not trying and not being prepared in their mocks, as some students call them. But these are real progress exams that indicate to us where the gaps in students' knowledge are, so that we can address that with good time, I might add, for the summer external exams, okay? And a couple of students have just asked, what is the setup for this? Previously, we've had students sit exams in the jury theatre, but they will be in the sports hall, obviously a larger space, and also using the theatre hall access arrangements. So there will be more than enough space for us to do that. In the event that students are having to isolate during the period of progress exams, we are looking at a provisional plan with how we go about students just getting the exams completed. So I will say we are looking at that, but wherever possible, students should be in the academy. And it's also key that they get to experience what it is like to be in an exam under exam conditions. So they are used to it by the time it comes to the external exams in the summer. Okay, and just as I've referred to the calendar outline, you should have these in your information pack. And it just gives you a rundown of, how the year looks for Year 11 students. Okay, so we do have a virtual study skills session the Friday before the Monday exams start. And I think on a couple of other slides later on in my part of the presentation, I'll talk through a preparation booklet that we are going through with students on a daily basis to help prepare them for those exams. It's the next slide. So they have been all given a booklet, which is starting from a 20 school day countdown. There is a different task on each day. Sometimes not a task, but some information that may just help them make some small changes to their lifestyles or what they are doing in order to help prepare themselves. And it's just that preparation is key to reducing anxiety and stress. And I understand there's probably more external stresses than ever given this year. But actually, if we can tackle the things that we can control, that is going to be beneficial to our students. So obviously for the students who are self-isolating, I have put this booklet into teams in the Year 11 cohort team group. So it's not in an individual class, it's just in the Year 11 team as a one whole group. And I am referring to that everyday inform time with students in the academy. And obviously those who are self-isolating, we are going through that in our tutor time or assembly Zooms with them then. And just one thing that I want to highlight, and I find it really important to do so because I find this was the most effective strategy for me. It's just the importance of past papers. Now, some students know exactly where to get these and how to use them. And a number of students have been asking me, what exam board are we on for each subject? And I have put that, just as it says at the bottom of the screen, I have put that under the Files tab in Exams and Useful Documents folder. So if you wanted to know what exam board we study in history, for English, for maths, you can go and find that list there. And it's just very relevant to be aware and prepared for what is going to come up in an exam, or the structure of an exam. What questions are asking you to do? Are you going to get short answer, multiple choice, long questions? So it's making sure they are aware of what is going to come up in each exam, so that they are just a little bit more calm, confident and prepared. And this is just something I feel is really key for Year 11 students. And I wanted to mention that to you now as parents, because we do this work during FF time. We use core PE time to go through this as well. And also it's really important for students to be more independent and be doing these at home as well. Also in your packs as well, I've just put a sheet in explaining the importance of ATL and attendance. Now, as Year 11 parents, you've obviously been very aware of what ATL is for a while now. We introduced this a number of years ago, and we are aiming for students to be an ATL of 1 in all of their subjects, because this shows that they are doing everything right when they engage in lessons, they are on time, they are always in those lessons, they complete independent study. And that is everything we ask of a student. And we've shown a strong correlation between a very positive or low ATL, as close to 1 as possible on average, and a high attendance of above 97.6%. Those students with those metrics are the students who we have looked or have shown to have gained a grade 6 or higher. Where students are looking to do A-levels, then that is exactly what they would need for the majority of those courses. So it's just really important to be aware of how ATL and how they approach their learning and how often they are in the academy. It really does have a massive effect on their results. So the sheet in your resource pack will just have a little bit more explanation in more detail on that. But it was just to make that aware to you now. Also in your packs, there is an example and a blank independent study timetable. So this is what they may know as a revision timetable. So we went through this with students in live Zoom or in the academy, as this was part of the 19 and 18 school days to go to their progress exams. And we find that where students know exactly what it is that they should be studying at each time, it just saves them a lot of stress and worry about, right, what is it that I need to study now? It's already laid out for them because they've done that preparation work. So if you can actually check that your son or your daughter have completed these, and it is a guide and not an absolute rule. So I have said this to students where, okay, if they are meant to start history, specifically the Cold War at 4 p.m, but actually it's 4:10, and they haven't, I don't want them to just write that whole hour off. They can start at 4:15, and within each hour time slot, it only needs to be 45 minutes. I say only 45 minutes, that's quite a lot, but that is what it's going to take to make sure they are retaining knowledge and they are retrieving it as often as they need to be successful in exams. And then just finally in your pack as well, I have put in some GCSE pod revision tips and survival guides. As Miss McLaren mentioned, I'm very aware that there are a lot of factors that are affecting students' well-being and how they cope. So it's not all about, okay, exams, but we do need to be organised, as this is just ultimately going to improve their confidence and reduce any anxiety and stress around exams that they may have. Okay, so I'm just going to spend, excuse me, the next couple of minutes talking about well-being and some factors that will have some, negative or positive influences on their well-being, and some strategies that have helped our students in the past. And, we've got a mixed bag within every year group of students who just cope remarkably well with any given situation that they are in. some who just need to come to us for, some support and guidance. And then there are students who worry far more than others, and we're very, very aware of that. And it's just about making sure everyone is aware of what they can do themselves as an individual to make sure that they are prepared and they are well. So I'm just going to go through 3 very quick questions, and you can just answer these at home between yourselves. You don't need to put answers in the chat or anything. But first question that I just wondered, I would ask, what percentage of young people say that exam pressure has significantly impacted on their mental health? So answers range between 50%, 80 or 95%. So obviously just discuss between yourselves at home. Okay, the answer is actually 80%, which is, remarkably high of these young people. Yes, it is a very stressful thing, but I think the more we can prepare students for that, hopefully that can be reduced. But yes, it is a very stressful time. We recognise that. It's unfortunately one that we just have to go through to make sure that we have, good grades to leave and have a fantastic future with. It is not a good idea to talk to a young person about not coping with exam pressures because it might upset them. It's false, really, because if parents are supportive, non-judgmental, and students can go to their parents, discuss anything that is bothering them, no matter how small, then it makes a massive difference. Okay, and one thing I'll talk a little bit about is looking for solutions. And I think some students struggle to see that there is a way out, or there is a solution to that problem, but there really always is. There isn't really anything that we haven't faced as academy staff that we couldn't support students through. And then finally, what are the signs that a young person may be in need of support? So obviously there's a lot of signs there. Just give you 30 seconds or so to read through. Okay, so hopefully you've got your answers at home. In actual fact, it's any of the above. Sorry, a little bit of a trick question. If you got that right, then well done. Everyone will express these stresses or poor well-being in different ways. And it's just finding the voice and finding the strategies that work for you. Okay, I'm just going to go through now some key factors in maintaining positive well-being. And I would love to start with sleep, because as a head of year, and obviously someone who's now more strategic in their role with supporting Year 11, this is one of my biggest concerns that I have for students. And I quite regularly ask students if they're, having a little bit of a bad day, what time did you go to bed last night? And I am petrified at some of the answers that I actually get. Some students also complain of poor or broken sleeping patterns. So I'm just going to go through some strategies. I'll pop them up on the screen now that we can use to just make sure sleep is better and they actually get the 7 to 8 hours recommended hours per night. And when a student says to me, oh yeah, I was on my games until 2 a.m. in the morning, that is a massive concern. And their lack of concentration from their lack of sleep and lack of energy is massively going to affect how engaged they are in lessons, their concentration levels. And we will all hit a cognitive overload, and that will hit much, much earlier on if students are tired and they haven't had a good night's sleep. So strategies that can be used to support with that, just having that calm environment before bed. I'm aware some students do share a bedroom with younger or older siblings, but it's just making that as calm as possible, because this is a really important year where students do need to get a decent sleep each night. And then I'm very aware how much our students use their mobile phones. So this needs to be reduced within an hour before trying to sleep, because that can keep brain activity moving, and we want that to reduce so that they can drift off to sleep quite quickly. And then quite obviously just avoid having sugary or fizzy drinks late at night, and especially caffeine, for obvious reasons, as that is going to keep students awake. Diet is extremely important. in that students need to fuel their bodies in order to work and keep going throughout the day. And there is an issue with the amount of sugar intake that some students do have within their diets, and sweets and lollipops, which aren't necessarily allowed in the academy, but it's the come down from that sugar rush that can really affect their energy levels. And good hydration is massively important as well, just to make sure that they can make positive decisions, not just with behavior, but actually linking bits of information together, making new connections to strengthen their ability to retain and retrieve knowledge. So strategies to improve or maintain a positive diet. It's just really important to know what foods are good for what. So our carbohydrates are our main energy source, with fats being an alternative energy source. Proteins, such as your meats, fish, eggs, are really good for growth and repair, but they are satiating, which means students will feel fuller for longer, and that's going to take away from any hunger distractions that they may have. And then fruit and vegetables, which are really high packed in vitamins and minerals, which will just be good for overall health, immunity. And it's just maintaining a balance of all those different nutrients within our diets. Yes, it's important we can have those snacks and those treats. And actually that can be something that we look forward to rather than we just have all the time. So that's just really important to make sure that students are fueling their bodies in the right way. And then managing distractions. I'm just going to talk through some strategies. Obviously, students need a quiet space to revise. And I'm very aware that, this generation of young people use their phones an awful lot. I'm probably guilty of this too when I'm trying to work as well. So I am very guilty of this myself, I will say. I've had a number of students last year who actually gave their phones to their parents whilst they were trying to revise, and that's really mature of them to do so. I'm not saying you should take your child's phone, but actually they can have some, calming music on in the background while they're doing it, doing the revision. But there are some apps that students can download and it would be, potentially beneficial to look at, as they will block certain social media sites if they start using these apps, such as Self-Control, Freedom, and I think Forest is an app which can actively motivate students to get on with their work and complete different tasks. So there's a range of different apps that students can look at which will help their time management and manage obviously distractions from their mobile phones. And then this is really important, some self-care strategies, and everybody will have their own different strategies that work for them. And it's just any method of, how we spend our breaks or our free time, which is how we unwind when we're having some downtime. So for me, obviously, my background as a PE teacher, mine would be some physical activity or some exercise. I know a lot of students would, hate the thought of that. But for other people, it's reading, gaming, just as long as it is for that short period of time and actually not all evening. I know a number of students who I've had some conversations with are using some meditation apps such as Calm, but I know there are many more, maybe Mind might be another one, but they can just be really relaxing and just a nice way to spend some of your downtime. So it's important that students find out what it is that they respond to well and what makes them just feel less anxious, more relaxed, and then generally happier. And this is just something I want to bring to students' attention as well, is that yes, a lot of students have faced barriers or minor problems last year. And this year, given the whole pandemic that we are in, that is a completely different ballgame altogether. But what I would urge students to do is, instead of focusing on problems, look for the solution. So if they have a problem with a particular, topic or subject, okay, how am I going to get around that? Who can I speak to? Who is going to support me with that? It may be a subject teacher, it may be me, it may be Mrs. Evans, it may be related to a college course, or I don't know, but I would really like it if students could not focus on the problem and look for the solutions. Okay, if they can have that positive way of thinking and that outlook, it massively reduces stress and anxiety if we look for those solutions. And I am not saying I'm turning students away to go and figure things out on their own, but we are trying to develop some independent thinkers, especially for when they leave us and they go onto their their next steps, their future destinations. We are here to help, but actually if students can say, Miss, I had this problem, this is what I did, do you think that will help? That is a much more positive and mature way of looking at things as a Year 11 student. And then finally, just we appreciate how hard and how long this year is as Year 11 anyway, given the massive pandemic issue at the minute that students are having to deal with. And I will just take this opportunity to say that the vast majority of students are doing incredibly well with coping. The way Year 11 students came back in September was just remarkable. They are a wonderful year group that I have the pleasure of working with. I just think obviously there's more strategies and preparation that we need to do to make sure that we finish the year as well as they have started. And it is all about endurance. It's a long year. By no means are we any clearer on where we'll be by the end of the year. So it's just making sure that students manage their time and keep a balance between work and the things that they like to do. And just on this last point where I say don't worry about the uncertainty, okay, I appreciate that might sound very easy to do. However, it is our job to do that worrying. I understand as parents, you will naturally worry for your children and how they will sit their exams, but I will just reinforce the fact that no matter what happens, they will leave with grades and they will go on to their future destinations. If exams go ahead in the summer, which at this point in time, they are brilliant. If not, then we will make sure that students receive fair and accurate grades based on how they have been working and the assessments that we have done internally, which is why they are so important. I'm now just going to hand over to Mrs. Evans and make her the host.
Hello everybody, so I'm Mrs. Evans and I am the Vice Principal for Curriculum and Standards, and I just wanted to talk you through briefly how we run independent study and how we run remote learning at this academy, so you're really clear about the offer for your children and how you can support them and how you can check what has been set and what they haven't done. So very briefly, independent study, which is what we call homework, is set on class charts for students and parents. All classwork is posted on Microsoft Teams for students to access to support with independent study and revision. So at the end of every day, our teachers upload the lessons they've taught to Microsoft Teams, which all students have access to. So that means if they're in the academy and they want to go over something, they can go back and look over that lesson PowerPoint. And if they're not in the academy for any reason and they've missed their work, they can access it that way. If students are self-isolating, they complete their work set on Microsoft Teams. So they go to those lessons and they read through those PowerPoints and they follow those links and they do those activities. They can do them in an exercise book or they can type them up on their computer if they've got one and that's what they prefer. The way we check their understanding is for every student who's off self-isolating, for each subject, they will get an assignment posted on Microsoft Teams for that week. So they work through the lesson, then they complete the assignment. And that is usually an exam-based question to help us test their understanding. We record centrally whether or not children have or have not completed that assignment. That assignment is marked by teachers and students receive feedback on that, and like they would if they were in a lesson and they did a piece of work and we would read it and say, this is what you've done well, or this is your mark out of 10, or this is how you can improve. Self-isolating students can also complete any homework, any independent study that's set on class charts during that time. And where we can this week, we've been offering live lessons, and where we can do that, we will. So they should also attend any live learning, whether that's a subject lesson or whether that's a form lesson. If they can't attend those for any reason, those PowerPoint slides will be put up onto Microsoft Teams as well. So this week, when we've had students not in the academy, we've taken registers for our live learning, and we will cross-check that with our assignment completion and work out which students we need to worry about. Anybody who's not been engaging with the work set, which means we need to check up on them while they're off and also when they return to the academy. So it's expected that in order to achieve their best, Year 10 and Year 11 students should be doing about 2 hours of homework each night. So that's homework set and revision, particularly now in the run up to their exams. So if they get home about 3:30, 4 o'clock, between 4 o'clock and when they go to bed, the aim is they will have done about 2 hours of independent work. And lots of students are doing that religiously, and that's brilliant. In Year 11, we've currently got, from September to now, all of the homework that's been set, 60% of students are regularly doing that. So I'm going to show you now how you can go on class charts and check whether your child needs to improve that completion rate or whether they're already doing everything they can. To support them with their work, either in the classroom or at home or on Microsoft Teams, students have got a revision guide for each subject. They've got those at home. They were given those in Year 10. The way that we ask students to revise is that they use retrieval practice, and Miss Neary's touched on this. So if students have been set revision as homework for a test, we go through retrieval practice techniques with them, and they're on the Microsoft Teams where Miss Neary has posted them up for them. So retrieval practice is called the testing effect. And what that means is you're trying to pull out knowledge from your memory. And the more you pull that knowledge from your memory, the more that knowledge will stick, which means that when you're in an exam, you can pull it back out from your memory and apply it to the question. So for an example, students might create a quiz, they might create flashcards, they might create a mind map and then try and copy that out, for example. There's lots of different ways of doing retrieval practice, and they've got a lot of information on how to do that. For example, in the middle of the day, if someone said, "What did you have for breakfast in the morning?" remembering that is retrieval practice. And our memory is like a muscle, and the more we use it, the better it gets. So we say to students, you should be doing retrieval practice every day for some of your subjects, in addition to any particular tasks, get you better at remembering, so that in the exam they can pull knowledge out of their memory and apply it to exam questions. In terms of independent study, then homework. So if any parents are concerned about how much homework's being set or whether their children are doing it, you can check that through class charts. So students and parents have all been sent logins for class charts, and we can get those back out to you if you've misplaced them or can't get into that for any reason. And you can either go straight online if you've got a laptop, or if you've got your mobile phone, you can download the app. And that app will tell you each week what homework's been set and when it's due. When we send reports out 3 times a year to parents, we tell you the percentage of homework or independent study that students have done. If either you or your children don't have the login details, Miss Neary or their form tutor can provide them, and are doing that on a daily basis for different students. And so you would download the app. It looks like that. There's an example. Download the app from the App Store, and then you would put the ID code in, which is what is provided by us, and then students would log in, and this is what it looks like. It will tell them at the moment what has been set. You've got a to-do list of what's been set and when it is due. Students can see what homework's been completed, what's been submitted late, and what's outstanding. And there's an example of when they click on the homework, we give a little written explanation of what they need to do, and we put maybe a video link in, for example. Microsoft Teams is where we store all of our lessons for students so that they can access them in the academy and out of the academy. And it's where we post an assignment for self-isolating students. And we've had a brilliant response this week for students who've not been in the academy. Absolutely brilliant response to people logging onto Teams and joining us for live lessons, so that's excellent. All students must know how to log into Microsoft Teams. Anyone's got any problems, they must let Miss Neary know straight away. We've checked and checked in form time, so we're confident every student knows how to do that. If they've forgotten or they're struggling, please just get in touch with us. So for example, if students are self-isolated, so if they're off school for any reason and they are well, they should follow their timetable from the previous day and attend any live lessons. So break their day down into the same sort of timetable as if they were at school, working in it in some sort of clear space. How to access Microsoft Teams. So anyone's not sure how to access Microsoft Teams, you go to Office, so you just click Google up and you go to office.com, or you can download the app. That you will then get a sign-in page like this, and the student would put in their school email. So that is their username, and then it's at prospere.org.uk. Lots of students do tell us they can't log in, they're spelling Prospere wrongly, so it's always worth checking that. We've issued all students with username and password on laminated cards that are in their blazer, and we've told students that they should take a picture of that card on their mobile phone. So if your children say they don't have their passwords, they're the first two places to try, then email Miss Neary and we'll get them to you within a working day. So they put their username in and their password, and then this is what Microsoft Teams looks like. They'll be in Office and they click on the Teams icon, which is the T for Teams that you can see there in the circle. Once they click on that, they will see, sometimes you have to put your password in again. Just put the password in again and that will show you that screen. Then they will get a screen which looks like this. So if you say to your children, log into Microsoft Teams and show me what it looks like, it will look like this. So each one of those squares is a class that they're in. So they will have a little square like that, a team for each of their subjects. So you can see here that we've got photography, then we've got computer science, we've got science, we've got English, for example. There is also a year team for the whole of year 11. What students can then do is click on any of those teams and they will see here files tab and an assignments tab. The assignment is where we put the task that they must do if they are off and complete, and we mark that. And we use completion to judge how well students are coping at working on their own when they're off. There's also a files tab, which is where they will find the lessons. So the idea is they work through the lessons, they make any notes in their exercise book or on their computer, they follow any video links that are on there, and then they use everything they've learned to complete the assignment. That assignment is one per week if they are not in, and staff will mark that and give students feedback. If there are any queries or independent study at all, please email Miss Neary, or you can email me, j.evans@prospere.org.uk, and one of us will respond within one working day, because the students that are going to be really successful this year can work in school, but also have got the tools and the resilience to be able to work out of school as well. So we're doing absolutely everything we can, and if we can support in any other way, please do get in touch with us. I am now going to just pass it over to Miss Neary, who's just going to talk you through CIAG and next steps for year 11. So if you just give me one moment, I will do that. Miss Neary, you just need to unmute.
I'm just trying to share my screen. Ms. Evans, have you made me host, please?
She's disabled.
Could you?
Screen sharing. She's muted,
Sorry, bear with us.
She definitely host. Tends to start.
So obviously just in this next section, this is where students have a lot of questions, because obviously it's new to them, and it's obviously quite a big and important thing, their next steps. This is where they're going to spend the next 2 years of their studies and their lives, when, you know, they've spent such a long time at this academy. So it's really important that they make the right decisions for them. And as Miss McLaren mentioned earlier, we do have a really good, a really positive percentage of students who are EAT, which is in education, employment or training when they leave schools or academies at the age of 16. Just trying to get our slides to share. Yeah.
I don't think you should.
If I'm the host.
I don't know. She's shared it with me, not you.
Right, Mrs. Evans,
I can go and do it. Keep talking.
I am just S. Sullivan on that account rather than
She can't do it now.
my account. You're going to share with me.
Yeah. I've just grown up. Oh, no, yeah, so
Yeah,
it's,
so we found this.
the make host thinking. Well,
We figured out.
very true.
Fabulous. Okay, hopefully now we can see the slides and we can carry on. Okay, so as I've mentioned previously that we do have really positive EAT figures. So when a student does not have a post-16 destination, it does have some, some big implications for them. We want students, or students are required to remain in education, employment or training until they are 18. And if they are not, so they are classed as NEET, then universal credit and child benefit will cease. And that's normally happens around the November following the September that they should have been at a destination. So in the year of 2018 to 19, we had 100% of students when they left us in July, they had a destination. And the previous year was 99.3%, and that was just one student who did not have a post-16 destination for quite some extreme circumstances. So we do work really hard as an academy, and obviously we have Mrs. Gibson, who's got really extensive knowledge and is great with working with students, making sure they avoid being NEET. And in your packs, your information packs, you do have, I think it's one of the final pages, there is a timeline of what we would expect students to do and when they should do that by. And just, I'll go through some of these now, these are the questions that I mainly get asked around. So what students should be doing now is they should be doing their research on which college they want to go to. If it's not college that they wish to do or go to, I'll just talk a little bit more about that in a minute. They need to start preparing some of their paper applications now. So we've got a lot of students who have done this research. They've attended the virtual open evenings, and there are still some coming up. So check the local college website. They are still hosting some virtual tours. It's obviously not the most ideal situation, but they can get some sort of feel for what each college offers. And actually, if they've got older siblings, they may have gone to these colleges as well. But we are asking students, if they are aware of what they want to study and where, to start preparing these paper applications now. I will say that the Manchester College now only accept online applications, so it's worth just holding on to applying to the Manchester College just yet. Students won't be able to send these applications off, as there is a section on every application form asking for their predicted grades in all of their subjects. Now, we will get those to students as soon as we have them. And if I just jump to the bottom, that Thomas Aquinas Sixth Form College, their closing date is the 30th of November. So if there are students who wish to apply to that particular sixth form college, they need to come and speak to us ASAP, and we can sort out what we put on those applications. That's no problem at all. So obviously that is a much earlier closing date. And I will also say that Loreto and Xaverian applications, they do close in early January or mid-January. So what I'm going to do when students do return to the academy is we always meet with those students who wish to apply to Loreto and Xaverian, because those particular colleges and most sixth form colleges require a personal statement to be completed alongside their applications, plus a reference from a member of staff. And obviously, given that staff are extremely busy at the minute, and we are covering for a lot of our team in certain areas, if students can give staff as much notice as possible in order to write these references, then that would be ideal for them. And staff are more than happy to write these references. It's just giving us some more time to do that will make sure they are of really high quality, and it's what students deserve. So hopefully that is a little bit clearer on what students should be doing now. So if they haven't done any research and they haven't been on college websites and they've searched for courses that they'd like to do, or even go on find courses, please go through that with students, and have those conversations on where are you thinking of applying to, and what do you want to study. Now there's a difference, and we're doing some work with students on the difference between A-level courses and BTEC courses. And more often than not, you can't combine the two. So if you want to study A-levels, students would need to choose 3 A-levels to study. That's been the case for quite some time. And then if they want to study a vocational qualification such as BTECs, then they would study them full-time as the equivalent of 3 A-levels. In some circumstances, students can study a smaller 1 A-level equivalent BTEC alongside 2 A-levels, but students will need to look at what each college is offering. I couldn't blanket say that that is the case. Every college would be different with what they offer in terms of that. And we're asking students not to send any applications directly to college unless a member of staff has checked them. And we do need to check that their predicted grades are accurate, and just obviously check that there's no spelling mistakes and they are completed to a high quality. And also I think it's peace of mind for students as well to know that their applications were all good when they were completed, and then they can be sent off. If there are any questions just on college applications, please do email me, or if you want to drop a question in the chat, I can just try and get an answer to Miss Sullivan, who's just answering questions at the minute. A lot of our students who are less interested in going to college and would like to look at apprenticeships. So just to give a brief background on what they are, it is a real job, more or less, with real responsibilities and a real wage in a sense. But they are in work or in the workplace, working with more experienced members of staff 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time in a classroom, in a local college, or wherever the connection is between the workplace provider and the educational setting. And they will also, as well as earning or working on their skills in the workplace, so practically on hand, they will also come out of that with a qualification as well. So obviously this is very appealing to a lot of students, because it is the chance to learn, work and earn at the same time, which I completely understand that. Apprenticeships are offered from a level 2 all the way up to degree level. So students really need to be looking at level 3 apprenticeships in order to progress on from level 2, and they are, which is the equivalent of GCSE qualifications. But what I will say also is that competition is quite fierce at the minute, and obviously given that we are in a pandemic, there may be fewer opportunities that come out based around apprenticeships. But just to move it on from that, if students go to, and they can do this now, okay, and if you want to go through this with your children, that's great. They go to the website at the link that is on screen at the minute. They can set and create an account, and they can actually start to they can set up an email alert system where they can receive specific information about a certain sector or certain providers when opportunities are arising within their area, set to a certain distance or in a certain sector. And Mrs. Gibson, just to inform all parents and students, she will be delivering an apprenticeships workshop session after February half term. That is more or less the time where most apprenticeships come out for school leavers from this academic year. So if students were to create an account and go on now, there may be few opportunities at this point in time, but there certainly would be more around the February, March point onwards. Okay, so it's just, I don't want students to get disheartened and there isn't anything out there. It's less busy at this point in time and more opportunities do get posted later on in the academic year. But it's very easy to navigate this website, to create the account, set up the email alerts and search for what opportunities are around at the minute. And one thing I will say, just based on apprenticeships, if that is students' first option, and that is their preference on what they would like to do when they leave school, please can they also make an application to college just as a backup. I would love them to get the opportunity of an apprenticeship if that's really what they want to do. But it's very wise and sensible to have at least one college application and offer from a local college, just to be safe and secure. We would always advise students as well, something I didn't mention before, to apply for at least 2 colleges, and they can apply for as many as they like. When they hear back from colleges, most often they will receive a conditional offer, and the condition is that they get their grades that they have been predicted, or the entry grades that are required to get onto the course. Following on from results day, when they receive these results, they would then go to the local college, say, these are my results, I would like to enroll on this course. And it is the student's choice on where they go, providing that they get the grades that they have been offered within the terms of their conditional offer. So just to go through what you can do as a parent to support is just help them with their research and go through it with them. Ask them the questions. So are you sure this is right? Have you read this? Have you looked at the course overview, what it is that you will be actually studying when you go to that particular college to study that course? And just going through it with them can be quite reassuring, because this is a big decision that they all need to make. It's not an easy decision as well. So yes, you can share your experiences, but obviously just if you can be there to support them with, any questions they may have. And if you can't answer them, obviously this is our job to support with that as well, and just encourage them. The more that they do, the more prepared they are this year. Okay, the more that will prepare them for, their next steps. And it is unfortunate that work experience couldn't be fulfilled. We would have loved that to have happened. But if any students, actually, I will add, do have part-time work, it's just worthwhile saying that the closer we do get to, their real summer exams, or even exams in January, it may be worth just holding back on that and putting the focus and the priority on preparing for those exams, because obviously they've got that summer to go and work and go back to that before they start college or their apprenticeships. And finally, is when students are enrolling for their virtual tours and their open days, be there with them just to say, oh, have you thought about this? And that looks good. Maybe we should check this particular bit out. And then, just as I mentioned previously, some colleges do require a personal statement to be submitted alongside their application. And it is more the sixth form colleges that require that, rather than Trafford College, Stockport, or the Manchester College. And it's just being another eye reading over what they've written, and then we can also check that as well. And then if there are other questions, which I am sure there are, I'll just quickly go through the chat in a minute. The final thing that I just wanted to mention is that we are looking for a number of volunteers, and actually, yeah, it says 8 to 10 on screen, but if we get more than that, that's absolutely fine. That would be brilliant. And I would just like to set up a parent voice group, but only for Year 11 parents. It's a very different year from other Year 11 students have experienced. And it's just to give feedback to us to feedback to you. And actually very key questions on how we are moving through the year, and allow you an opportunity to discuss any concerns that you may have discussed with other parents within the community in a constructive manner. And it's also just to make sure that we are communicating with you in the right way, and it's that positive forum for everybody to contribute with the shared goal of just supporting our Year 11 students through this quite strange year. So if you would be interested in being part of this Parental Voice forum, please could you just drop me an email just stating your initial interest. They will of course be virtual, and I'm looking at holding them once per half term. So that would be really lovely if we could get some information on that. So I'm just going to finish off by saying that, just a reminder that we have recorded the Zoom, and the link will be posted on our website and sent to you via email. If you haven't received the resource pack that we sent yesterday and you don't receive the information on where the link is going on the website, then we need your most up-to-date email address. It may be that we just don't have that. So if you're experiencing difficulties with that, then please can you just let us know and give us your most up-to-date email address. I really look forward to obviously receiving some of your responses for that, and thank you so much for joining this evening. I hope you found it interesting. Any questions that you do have, please drop me an email, please.
If you have an online form, do they need, how do they're going to apply for it? Do they need to show you? Do they need to request?
There's just a couple of questions in the chat that my colleague has written down. So just before I end the meeting, I will reply to you specifically. I'll either email you or I will give you a call either later, or just very shortly after this meeting, or tomorrow morning. So we're going to end the meeting now. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. From Wisdom and his mom. Thank you.
Just waiting for a couple of them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to leave this running just for another minute or two because there's some questions. So if you are happy with everything, you don't have any questions, then yeah, you can end the meeting at your end. We're just going to keep it running another couple of minutes so that we make sure we get everything in the chat. If I just run through any college-based questions,
Yeah,
and if you do the...
The only one is John.
1 second, okay. The college we've applied for said closing date.
Just to let you know, Miss Theory, you're not on mute.
No, I know. I want to just
That's
answer
fine.
these questions verbally, and then it saves me having to.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. I'm wondering. I think she's gone. That's fine. Just in response to the question or the statement, though, the college we want to apply for says we can apply online without predicted grades. That's fine. If your son or daughter, I'm not particularly sure who that is, but if you want to just get that student to if they're in the academy or they're returning to the academy next week, just get them to come and speak to me about it. That's fine. I can just make sure it's all okay, and then they could apply for that. I'm just not sure what college that is. Okay, and colleges with an application closing date of the 18th of December. If students just come and speak to me as soon as they return to the academy, or if they are already in, we can look at getting that section of their applications sorted. So if they can do the main part or the personal details, any personal statements that they need to complete, that's great. and then we will look at how we complete that predicted grade section for them. So please don't worry, we will make sure that they meet those application deadlines. That's fine.
How do we pick subjects at college?
Can you please advise us how we pick subjects at college? Well, that's based on what you would like to do when you move on from college. So looking at what you would like to do, perhaps would it need you to go to university? That's maybe something you can discuss with Mrs. Gibson. So we can look at organising a one-to-one careers appointment if you haven't already had that. But it's based on what you are interested in, what you want to do in the future, and what subjects would be useful for that. So come and have a chat with us. But if you look at the courses and qualifications that are available at particular colleges, what would suit, you don't want to pick something just based on whether your friends are going there or whether your friends are studying that course. It has to be based on you and where you would like to be in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years time in the job and the career that you would like to follow. But it sounds as though you could do with just coming and having a chat with us, have a look, do some research and come to us with some ideas and some thoughts, and then we can just guide you from that point onwards. Oyen, I will email that to you if that's okay. I just don't want to give you the wrong one now, but I will email that to you. No problem. No, we are just trying to work through students because we're trying not to take students out of lessons so that they don't lose learning times. And she actually only works in the academy every Thursday and every Friday. She has been off poorly within recent weeks, so she's lost a bit of time then. We can also arrange for a telephone appointment to be made if it's a little bit more urgent, but we can absolutely look at organising which students need to meet with Mrs. Gibson perhaps a little bit sooner, and it would be those students who are looking at applying to colleges with earlier closing dates such as Cheadle, Loreto or Zavarian. Okay, so if maybe you just drop me an email and then I can look at organising that list, because we've based it on who wants to study A-levels first, because they are more or less the subjects that need to the qualifications that require earlier entry or closing dates for college. Yes, so just based on that question on the paper application, the section that needs to be completed by school, if your son completes everything else and make sure that is completed, then gives us the form, we can complete that section. That's absolutely fine. There are sometimes sections on attendance and punctuality, and we obviously have all that data to fill in. And then obviously the next section or the final section to be completed is the predicted grade section. Miss Watts, if Hannah, when she's back in next week, if she comes to speak to me regarding her application, we can get that sorted, no problem. I don't want her to worry, but if she comes and speaks to me next week when she's back in, we'll sort that then. No, being isolated will not negatively affect his attendance. We are putting in a certain code which does not negatively affect his attendance, so please don't worry about that. It's only unauthorised absence which would lower attendance, in which case if he is being told to self-isolate, that does not negatively affect his attendance, just as I said, so don't worry. Okay, we're just going to finish there with the chat. I'm sorry if you've not had the opportunity to ask the question that you wanted to. Hopefully you do all have my email address. So please do send to me then. Thank you very much and good evening.